Hello, and welcome to another episode of Mr. Bench's book reviews. What's in the box today? Sorry, I occasionally bump the microphone while doing this. It is hardback, known as When I Am Big by Maria Deck. There it is. There's a giraffe, which is quite big. And a few other animals. There's a pig, something looks a bit like a pigeon, and something possibly a possum or a raccoon or something. And they've all got lines coming off them that go around the spine. Oh, and there's someone walking them. Isn't that funny? So we don't know who this is referring to. The eye could be the giraffe. That's the biggest thing on the cover. We shall see. Nice mustard yellow on the inside here. Could be giraffe colour. Giraffe yellow. When I'm big, Maria Deck. Here we go. There's a very large person about to sit on a tree. When I am big, I'm going to be really big. Like one big giant. They've written the one in a numeral. Yeah. See that? One. You often get told to write the numbers 1 to 12, I think it is, out in letters. But they've written one. So big like one big giant. Big like a big giant. And the giant is so big. Well, it's holding a giant squirrel as well. Because the squirrel is bigger than the trees. Okay. Well, that's a big giant. Here's a big bicycle. I will ride a bicycle that has 2 horns. Toot, toot. That's one toot for each horn. It also has 2 wheels, as every good bicycle does. A horn at the front, a horn at the back. I guess because you can never find a horn when you need them, as Homer Simpson famously says. Okay, you don't actually have anything else in the picture to tell you if this is a giant bicycle or not. Let's see. It's gone 1 and then 2. 3 on the next page, so it looks like we're going to be having some sort of counting book, which is nice. I did review a number rhymes book on this channel before. Check that out if you'd rather have counting books with rhyme, because this one doesn't rhyme. I will tie my shoes all by myself, and I will make 3 knots with big bows. Oh, we should probably be thinking, it's about when you're big, right? And big, normally, from the point of view of a child, means kind of grown up. So grown up, going to learn to ride a bike, going to learn to tie their shoes. I mean, that's possibly almost more important than the counting. The counting might just be the structure they've thought of using, but actually these are going to be things that people want to be able to do when they grow up. So we might have watching a film, certificate 15. Let's see. I will have 4 hats for my adventures to the south, the north, the east, and the west. And here are 4 hats. There's a kind of woolly hat with a bobble. What do you think? Called a bowler hat, a pilot's cap, and something that I would probably consider Chinese or Eastern in some way. And they're for the south, the north, the east, and the west. So I guess that's the eastern one. The north, I guess, is the woolly one. And then you have south could be the bowler hat if they're off to London. And then the west is the pilot because they're flying over the Atlantic, I suppose. I'll eat a cone with 5 scoops of ice cream for lunch. There's a lot going on there. I mean, 5 scoops of ice cream is a lot. And then having that for your lunch rather than a proper savoury dish. It's also quite controversial. But I guess that's another thing, when you're a kid, you get told, no, you must eat something savoury before you have an ice cream. And then that ice cream may only have maximum 2 cones. And you think when you're big, you can choose your own food more freely, so you can have that for your lunch. And I will put 6 spoonfuls of sugar in my coffee. Well, again, here it's probably more the fact that you're allowed to drink coffee that's of more interest than making it undrinkable by putting that much sugar in it. Particularly those are quite heaped teaspoons as well. And compared to the size of the cup, I mean, that's basically going to be caffeinated sugar. I will have 7 different jobs, 1 for each day of the week. well, again, working, having a job is something grown-ups do that children don't. So they're doing quite well here. They're coming up with quite a few. I guess the adventures, children can go on adventures and wear different hats, but the others have so far been quite good. The jobs seem to be someone setting the time on a clock, someone trimming a hedge into the shape of a rabbit, someone swimming, I guess, catching underwater fish, or don't know if those are fish or plants. Opera singer. I guess that's someone. That's a weather forecaster, and that I think is Australia. Is it? Is that going to be Australia? I mean, it's a blob. It's over the fold of the page, so it's not that easy to tell, but that's certainly not the United Kingdom. And it doesn't look like the United States of America either. I think that might be supposed to be Australia. And this is when I start looking at the information at the front of the book. Published in New York. First published in France. Under the title Quand, serai, which I guess means when I am big. Well, it's French. Is that France then? I wouldn't have recognised that as France. It's certainly somewhat abstract. But that may explain the odd thing. I mean, you'd have to have a think about it. But let's bear that in mind. If they start eating baguettes and garlic, then they'll just be like eating bread and garlic in a normal, non-normal, in a British book. One of the jobs seems to be quality control officer at a cookie factory, and one of them, this is this animal walker we had on the previous page. Is that one of the jobs then? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, yeah, and then. But my favourite job will be walking animals. Okay, so there they even link the two pages together nicely. I'll have 8 of them, that's 8 animals, and I will teach them how to do tricks. One thing is that it's doing jobs at the weekend, so it's quite a naive view of adulthood. I think it's nice to do a job every day. And drink way too much sugar, eat too much ice cream. They maybe need those kinds of sugar levels to sustain yourself. So the animals are a dog, a tortoise, probably a hare, a cat, a pig, a giraffe, a pigeon, and this thing that is probably a raccoon. Favourites written in the American spelling, so it's an American English translation of the French. I will jump over 9 puddles, all of them at once. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now this is quite a funny picture because it looks like the person isn't wearing any clothes. I mean, I guess they're wearing shorts. But you can't really tell that. It's like if one of these kids has a t-shirt that's a bit too long for them and it kind of covers their shorts. You're like, oh, he's not wearing anything. He's not wearing any unders. Moderately amusing. I don't know if this is a giant and that's why they're able to jump over so many puddles at once. Like, it's not quite clear. Obviously, the jobs and the animal walking kind of connected together, but it's not quite clear. As I said, the bicycle, it wasn't clear it was a giant bicycle. And their size here, relative to the animals they're walking, is actually quite normal. They're not a giant walking, these animals. So, I don't know if they're doing all these things at once, or if this is kind of a sequence. So it may just be a normal-sized person leaping over these puddles. They're doing like a running, it's like a stride. They're not doing a long jump thing with both feet forward, as you may have expected. I will dash down 10 ski slopes. Okay, they're skiing. Slightly weird drawing here. Not sure they've got the perspective quite right on the skiers. But there are 10 hills there with snow on them. I will play a trumpet with 11 buttons. I think most trumpets have 3 buttons. I guess skiing could also, because I was thinking of things you do as a grown-up, jumping over puddles would be considered more childish, I suppose. And playing the trumpet, I guess you want to learn an instrument. I mean, you don't know how big the kid is now, the narrator. I'll be the loudest of our 12-member band. I quite like that one again. It's a bit like the jobs and the animal walking, that they kind of connect together. Gives it a bit more fluency. The 12-member band is quite good. There's someone playing a violin, double bass, another violin, although you get a lot of instruments that look a bit like that, so it could be slightly different, and another one. The one of them could be a ukulele. Seems to be tammering a didgeridoo, and he's louder than them. Keyboard, drum, sort of cymbally thing, someone's crashing together, and some other sort of vuvuzela. Okay, so being louder than some of them is quite... I don't know if the buttons make it louder. Could be a nod to the, Spinal Tap thing. Turning it up to 11, that's why it's so loud. Maybe. I will live in a tree house with 13 windows. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13. There it is, nice tree house. That look out on a volcano, the North Pole, and the moon. I mean, in the picture, we're looking in the same direction, pretty much. So, I don't know if that means that the volcano, North Pole, and the moon are all in the same place. I don't know if there are any volcanoes near the North Pole, or if the treehouse is just so high up, and you have such good visibility that you can see all those things at once. Again, living in a treehouse isn't necessarily a typical grown-up thing, like tying your own shoes. I will climb 14 branches to get to my treehouse. Again, a nice, almost like a double one, the house and the branches. It will be so big that a family of 15 bears will fit inside, and there's just a load of bears. Yeah, that's a bit of an odd thing to want to do. Live with 15 bears. Doing well, though. I mean, we're up to 15, and I'm not completely run out of ideas yet. There's a picture of the bicycle again. I'll race through the forest like the wind on my bicycle. That was featured earlier, although you can't... They haven't very obviously drawn the 2 horns, which seems like a bit of a missed opportunity. I think the horn at the back was blue, and you can definitely not see that here. And it could just be hidden from view, but it might have been nice to put a bit more effort into making that bicycle obviously the same as the previous bicycle. 16 tall trees will lead the way. And again, they're saying tall trees here, but the implicit height of the tree where the treehouse was very, very tall, and some of these don't obviously have more than 14 branches. So that's not my favourite page of the book. There's a is that a roller coaster or is it a train? I will build a roller coaster that has 17 cars and is 17 miles high. Again, I don't know why you need the 2 17s there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And there are 17, but don't know why you need that, really. Why can't you just have 17 cars all be 17 miles high? And again, it's a bit inconsistent here, because you don't know if it has to be so high because the person is still a giant. You don't really need to be a giant on the first page. They could have done without that, really. Unless the idea is that because it's a kid, it just means grown-ups are so enormous. So it's just meaning, basically, of a size beyond my comprehension. I'll have 18 pet spiders. Well, I'm not going to count them, but I guess there are 18. That one only has 7 legs. That one only has 6 legs. I think you could have given all the spiders 8 legs, wouldn't you? Because, you get a kid going, or even a grown-up, and people like maths, thinking, oh, how many legs is that? Because first thing people know about spiders is they have 8 legs, and then if you draw something, that one only has 7 as well. Quite a lot of these have had legs either removed or were just born with fewer legs than you expect from your typical arachnid. 18/8 is 144, as anyone who plays darts will probably know. It's 8 18s in darts, but it's the same sum. I will have a long dinner table with 19 chairs. They haven't got a matching set of 19 because that's probably quite hard to come by. They almost look, each one pretty much seems to be unique. They don't really fit around the table, as you might know, they're kind of at the sides. But they also haven't shown the entire table in the pictures. It's possible it goes on for another page or two, and that when the guests come, they manage to accommodate everybody. 19 chairs. I mean, I know we're counting up every time, so it'd be quite hard to achieve this, but obviously she's in this band of 12 people, so it's not just for the band. Other people could join in too. I was just trying to know, she has 15 bears, so you couldn't get all your bears and all your band members around the table. I will eat 20 pizzas in one sitting. I don't know if that's with the help of her 19 guests, because then that would be quite easy. 18 guests. There could be mini pizzas. Could be pizzini, I believe the word is. Not quite small here. Oh, birds. I will feed crumbs, probably from the pizzas, to my 21 bird friends, and we will sing together. These are all different kinds of birds as well, which is quite nice. Yeah, that one's got a weird beak. It looks a bit like one of those things for corn on the cob. Like, you know, a two-pronged fork. Different kinds of tails, different colours. And they're all eating crumbs. That one looks like it's sitting on an egg. You can't see the egg. So they're singing together. Again, they've kind of lost their way a bit with typical things people want to do when they grow up, like having spiders. Unless that means I'm going to overcome my current fear of spiders. But yeah, having to read a lot into it that isn't actually in the text. I will have a colourful collection of 22 feathers. I don't know if that's provided by the birds. You could go around trying to match up these feathers to the birds. For example, there's one very orange yellow bird with a very long tail here, and there's a yellow orange feather. And there's a slightly blue and yellow feather. Can't see a bird that would obviously come from. Okay, so they probably don't match, unless that's the 22nd one. So you'd have to find one other one that doesn't match. But they haven't done it very obviously. Like here, there's a bird with little black spots on the end of its tail. And there isn't a feather that very obviously matches that. So they just found 22 feathers. I will play hide and seek between the 23 houses in my neighbourhood. Now these are all single story things. Oh no, that's got 2 stories. They're all quite small, smallish looking houses. There they are. And they don't look like the typical kind of house you would get near the North Pole. So, I mean, what's it called? When I am big. I guess the narrator's going to be big for a long period of time. And these are like all the things they're going to do over the course of their adulthood. Or whichever period they're going to be big for. Rather than trying to do all these at the same time. And that's why they don't all have to match up. But I do like the ones more that match up. See, there are deciduous trees here, and there were coniferous trees in the forest. Nothing wrong with that. And this is more suburbia, and you get through the forest to get here, but, you know, I mean, you could have... There would have been more scope for linking up the pictures. I will have pillow fights with 24 pillows every night. Okay. There are feathers lying around that. Maybe that's where they get their feathers from. Feathers that have exploded from the pillows. I'm not sure who they're fighting with. That's not mentioned either. It's with the other band members again. There's going to be... Well, there are a couple of arms there that aren't bear's arms anyway. It's more likely a band member than a bear. I'll go to bed at 25 o'clock. Those are quite nice, isn't it? Because, and in the morning, I'll wake up even bigger than the day before. Well, there you go. That's a very nice ending. I know I did some slight comment on some of those pictures about that ending 25 o'clock, and I think that pretty much makes it clear what we're talking about, that this is big as in grown up as over to achieve things that currently seem completely impossible, because obviously 25 o'clock doesn't exist. I mean, there is one in the morning, which you could say is equivalent to 25 o'clock, but it's basically I can exceed all realms of possibility. So maybe they don't actually want to live with all these bears, and even the 11-button trumpet doesn't really exist. But it's kind of a way of saying I will do things beyond that which humans have so far achieved. I will break boundaries, explore new frontiers, and be a pioneer in many ways. So that was perfectly adequate. I didn't know, when you open it, when you look at the front cover certainly, and there's no indication on the back either, you don't know it's going to be one of these counting books. And the counting doesn't, well, it's used very nicely at the end with the 25 o'clock, but it's otherwise not that critical. For example, the spiders, then on page 8, it's not I will have animals with 8 legs, and then it doesn't, 12 isn't used for the clock, 24 could have been used for the clock, but they sell you a bit of a dummy on that one, which is nice. Keeps you on your toes. The only thing I would have said, I would have liked a few more connections between the pictures. They could definitely have made the bike racing through the forest look more like the bike on the second page. But other than that, I think a good solid effort from Maria Dick. So there you go, and thank you for joining me. And do come again for another of Mr. Bench's book reviews. Bye!